I wear a couple of hats. When Harry wrote to me on August 18th asking me to speak at this event, he said, he asked me to speak on the religious dimensions of the Anglo-Indian community based upon the research that Dr. Robin Andrews and myself have been involved with over the last 6 years or so. I wear a couple of hats. You know that, those of you who know me know that. I'm a priest of the Jesuit order. I'm Anglo-Indian on my mother's side. And I've been coming to India for a long time and quite a bit of research on the Anglo-Indian community. Back in 2010, Robin Andrews and myself had a conversation via Skype, me in London and she in New Zealand, about the religious dimensions of Anglo-Indian identity. Both of us were deeply aware of how religiously engaged many Anglo-Indians are, committed to their churches, prayerful, involved in charitable works, and religious in how they speak about their life stories. References made to, with God's grace I will accomplish X, or in that moment I saw the hand of God leading me, or also at times the occasional, you wait and see, God will repay the wicked bugger. We also knew that many Anglo-Indians made regular pilgrimages to shrines like Bandel, Our Lady of Happy Voyage outside of Calcutta, and increasingly also to Velankanni, Our Lady of Health Shrine here in Tamil Nadu. Despite these obvious signs of religious commitment, almost no scholars have bothered to ask what role religion actually plays in how Anglo-Indians think of themselves, how they present themselves to the mainstream communities in India, and how their being Christian of one or another denomination has shaped their history, or if and how Anglo-Indian religiosity may change or deepen or weaken when Anglo-Indians settle outside of India. So these unanswered research questions motivated us to decide to do some research to take up these questions. As practicing Christians ourselves, Robin is a very involved member of her parish as well as diocesan committees in New Zealand, and me as a Jesuit priest in the United States and a historian, we thought we would be in a good position to successfully pursue this research. We took the opportunity in 2013, in conjunction with the 9th World Anglo-Indian Reunion in Kolkata, to launch a major survey on Anglo-Indian religious practice. We invited reunion attendees, some of you might have been there, to fill out a survey, both through an online portal and also on paper forms distributed at the reunion events, a few churches, as well as one Anglo-Indian school. We had over 500 respondents, ranging in age from 16 to 96 years old, balanced in gender and geographically distributed, about 2/3 who were resident in India and 1/3 resident across the diaspora. We also carried out a number of interviews with survey respondents in order to go deeper with these questions. And we had some very interesting findings. I will summarize just a few. Please go back. Yes, right there. We took, yes. So, just a few of the findings we had. It appeared that the claim that Anglo-Indians are Christian is largely accurate, even as more often Anglo-Indians are marrying outside the community to people of other religions. A trend that is even stronger than we anticipated is the number of Anglo-Indians in our sample who are Catholic, 82.5%, particularly in India, 88.5%, but also abroad, 74.6%. Not only were our respondents almost entirely Christian, predictably, they also mostly are actively practicing their faith. Particularly in India, they are regular and frequent churchgoers, 84% of whom go at least weekly to church. And even outside of India, their church-going practices are far more frequent. That is 50%, 57% weekly. Far more frequent than the general population of Christians in the countries in which they live. For instance, based on 2011 statistics, Anglo-Indians outside India attend church more than 4 times as often as the average Catholic in Australia, who only attend church at a rate of 12.5%. For Anglo-Indians, practicing their faith often entails much more than simply going to church on Sunday. Over 34% of our respondents take on volunteer roles in their church communities, such as in charitable work, singing in choirs, as Eucharistic ministers, belonging to groups, prayer groups, and taking on leadership. The same rate holds 34% among Anglo-Indians who are abroad, as for those who are in India. Something that distinguishes Anglo-Indians from some other Christian ethnic groups is that men and women appear equally likely to be practicing their faith, whereas in many ethnic communities it is much more likely that women are actively practicing and men are not. These are only a few highlights. We have more fine-grained analysis of an article and a book chapter, both of which came out in 2017. In these published works, we elaborated on the ways in which Anglo-Indians, both in India and abroad, show that they have relied on their being Christians and members of Christian church communities to anchor their identity as members of a very small Anglo-Indian minority in India, as a minority within a minority, as it were, and abroad to finding a community of familiarity, belonging, acceptance in the countries to which they migrated. Now, just a few words about Velankani, a site not far from here, of 17th century Marian apparitions and miracles, which have grown in popularity as a pilgrimage site, especially in the last 2 or 3 decades among Indian Catholics, including Anglo-Indians. This is the focus of our current research. In fact, many of us from this reunion have signed up, show of hands, signed up for the Velankani trip? Okay. And we'll be going there starting on Monday. Yet this shrine, Our Lady of Good Health at Velankani, had not been of much consequence outside the immediate locality and the region, and was little bothered about for centuries by the colonial Catholic Church and the colonial governments of the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, and the British, all who had their turns dominating part of this very coastline. Velankani is almost invisible in the historical documents. Likewise, many Anglo-Indians of the older generation, particularly from the north and from the west of India, had not even heard of Velankani until recent decades. So this rise in popularity of Velankani quite intrigued us. It is even more interesting given that at Velankani, the shrine itself estimates that the majority of pilgrims are Hindu, around 60%, and some are even Muslim. One can see that if you go and observe some of the rituals that people choose to perform in and around the shrine, dressing the statue of Mary, making offerings of various precious metals, shaped like ailing body parts that they are praying for healing for, tonsuring the head as a sign of vows taken or as a sacrifice, presenting a pali of offerings at the altar, tying turmeric to branches of trees symbolizing one's wishes and prayers, and so on. Some of these rituals may appear quite foreign to you, especially if your manner of worship has always been quite Western and European in style. Yet Anglo-Indians from India and from abroad are going there in increasing numbers. We are curious and would like to know what the devotion to Our Lady of Velankani means to Anglo-Indians, what rituals they choose to engage in and choose to refrain from, what the experience of pilgrimage means to them, and even means to them as Anglo-Indians. To that end, Robin Andrews and I will be participating in this pilgrimage to Velankani with the reunion group leaving here on Monday. We will be participants as fellow people of faith, as well as observers. On the trip, we invite anyone who wants to speak to us about their experiences and what it all means to them, as well as to fill out an anonymous, confidential questionnaire on the same. Thank you.
Friends, one of the comments made by Sir Henry Gidney on his deathbed was that he called his community the most ungrateful community in the world. That was his opinion. I'm half believer of that, but I believe that all of you do wonderful work, and we also do some work. We don't expect anybody to come back to say thank you. But I believe that the All India Anglo-Indian Association should have, many decades ago, taken the lead to thank people, to show gratitude to people who have made a difference. All of you perhaps have made a difference. I can see people who write about the community, research the community, they have made a huge difference. People who contribute to the community, people who organize the reunion and other events. But from the All India Anglo-Indian Association, it is our humble duty to recognize 3 or 4 people we feel who have over the years really been torchbearers as far as the international community is concerned. And it's not my handsome friend Richard Burton from the US, who's already been honored for coming to all reunions. We thank and congratulate him also. May I request Dr. Oscar Nigli and Vignesh N to please join me to help me with, and my friend Trevor Rosemere. We will just give you a citation and a tie if you're a gentleman. The All India Anglo-Indian Association is proud to honor Gordon Maha for his long and dedicated service and leadership through the International Federation of Anglo-Indian Associations. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a thankless job to be the leader's leader. Gordon Maha has given so much of his time, his expertise, and his leadership. And if it wasn't for Gordon Maha, perhaps the reunions may not have happened, or if they had happened, they wouldn't have been so interesting and fulfilling. And it is our humble duty on behalf of the Anglo-Indians of India to say thank you very much, Gordon Maha. And yeah, Trevor will. Trevor is one of our grassroots workers, so we'll give you the honor of handing over the tie to Gordon Maha. It's our new Anglo-Indian Association tie. Is Mrs. Maha here? She's not here. We will present her a nice scarf. There's still a debate on which looks better. So yeah, you can give it, yes. Trevor would like to give the scarf. Mr. Maha, I know we're running short of time, but 30 seconds.
Look, I think you've heard long speeches all this morning and over the last 2 days, but this is really humbling. Honestly, I didn't expect it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That is for Mrs. Maha. As the community spread across the world, we lost touch for many, many decades. And then, thanks to social media, the internet, and one gentleman collecting email addresses over the years, he has been, according to me, the conscience of the community internationally and the connector of the community. So the All India Anglo-Indian Association is proud to honor Joe Bailey for his untiring and commendable efforts. If you listen to the citation, left lap, I would be happy. For his untiring and commendable efforts that have enabled Anglo-Indians from across the world to remain connected and united. Joe Bailey and I think his lovely wife and daughter should join us when he receives this citation. Charmaine is here.
She was here.
Okay. Maybe we'll get a photograph later, yeah? I request Oscar to give the, I'll give the citation. I'll ask Oscar to give the tie. That's for you, sir. Yeah. And 2 scarves. He has 2 wonderful ladies wherever he goes by his side. One more picture. Friends, if there was a person who personifies the spirit of Anglo-Indians across the world, it's Amaris Bailey. Somebody should give her a beautiful call. Unlike most of us Anglo-Indians, she's very modest, and she doesn't give the call for herself, but she deserves it. So congratulations. You can just step in the back because we can get a group photograph a little later. Friends, I believe that was the onus was on the All-India Anglo Association over more than a century to keep a record, or at least publish articles or write-ups about the community to keep it going. The only thing we did very well was the review. We have copies of the review going back 100 years. I'm planning to take out some really interesting articles and Mr. Anthony and Sir Henry Gidney's speeches, etc., and compile it. Of course, it will take some time. We hope you will support us in that. But a person who had nothing to do with publishing, that's the one. Yeah. In fact, my father, who was the President-in-Chief a little before me, was a publisher for many years, and may his soul rest in peace. And I had great fights with him, but he never got down to doing what he should have done as a publisher and as the leader of the community and as an Anglo-Indian. But a person who worked with the railways and then became a professor and went to the United States of America decided to do that. So the All India Anglo-Indian Association is proud to honor Blair Williams for the many titles that have been published through CTR to capture and record the culture and way of life of the Anglo-Indian community and the charitable initiatives it has given wings to. It's publishing for a cause, for a double cause. And he's hit a double whammy over there. Blair Williams, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't like all this, we know. Trevor, time, please. Yep. And finally, both of these gentlemen are not here. Many of you have contributed financially over the last several decades. But these three people, one is a couple and one is an individual gentleman. All of you know of them from Canada. And they are really finding their own funds. They don't even ask anyone for funds. And they are sending it across to India and helping Anglo-Indians across associations and across. They have no boundaries. They don't want a particular association or an organization to be responsible for distributing these funds. They want to give it to the deserving Anglo-Indian who all of us know there is a struggling part of our population, and we would like to honor them. The All India Anglo-Indian Association is proud to honor Louis de Cruz for silently and selflessly pledging his wealth for a most honorable cause, the education and welfare of the less privileged in the Anglo-Indian community. We salute him for his benevolence and bountiful generosity. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not here. May I ask Harry to come and receive it, as the convener of the reunion, and anybody from Canada who's close to him? Yes, over here. Yeah, anyway, yes? Please come, sir. Please come. Yeah, and Harry, would you also come?
Yeah, Rod DeCroy. I think you
Sorry, Your Honor?
Rod DeCroy.
Oh, Rod DeCroy, the pianist, of course. Yes. Rod, you know Louis well? Yes. You look a bit like him. Yeah. Yeah, the pianist. So, ladies and gentlemen, for Louis de Cruz, as well as, while you're here, The All-India Association is proud to honor Clifford and Brenda Smith for their untiring and consistent efforts to reach out and touch the lives of Anglo-Indians striving to overcome challenges. We commend them for their generosity and commitment. So, Harry, you could also come and join us, please. Come. Yeah, save time. Come, Harry. You guys have given Harry so many sleepless nights, he's lost all his hair. Thank you very much. Sorry, it took a little more than 5 or 6 minutes, but we want to thank all of you, Mr. Max French and Mr. Noel French in New South Wales, all of you from Western Australia, from New South Wales, then from Victoria, all of you who have contributed so much from the United States as well as Canada. It doesn't matter which organization you do it through, as long as the help gets to the people who really deserve it. And you have been keeping in touch with the community. Thank you all very much. And friends, I just can't help but saying, yesterday, unfortunately I missed most of today, we've had many panel discussions and symposiums, but the quality of the symposium yesterday, and I'm sure today, and the range of speakers that Harry and Richard and their team have put together is something most amazing and commendable. People who took the topic and spun it right around on its head and sent us home intellectually really tired, but wondering what we should really do and where we need to go. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
But she doesn't want to be employed. Can you elaborate on that?
Uncle Richard?
That's what I heard.
No, sorry. I said the Anglo-Indian single mother is going through a lot of difficulties in terms of education, the children, etc. I was very good thing about it. I know you use the word divide and all. Nowhere, in fact, you can see the records. There's no divide. So the Anglo-Indian mother, single mother, who's going through a lot of difficulties because of the problem faced by being abandoned and not having something to support them. So higher education is a big problem, it's extremely expensive, and so is school education. So we need to reach out to those mothers who have great difficulties. I'm dealing with many of them, I've seen many of them. That's the point of it.
I don't know where I am. All I know is I'm an Anglo-Indian. There are so many splinter groups in our whole association. I don't know if it's true or not, but that is my feeling. There is an undercurrent of tension within various groups. As a result, I don't know where I am. I have heard rumors that there has been some embezzlement, there has been some various disparaging remarks. I would like to very much feel which association, which institution should I belong to. Right now, I am a member of the Anglo-Indian Association. Where is my money going? What is happening? Etc., etc., etc. So many speakers have spoken about the unity. I only hope that this unity will go from strength to strength. Thank you.
Is there anybody from the East Indian Charitable Trust here? East Indian? Okay. I'm very blessed to be a recipient of the East Indian Charitable Trust. When my parents died, I went to Don Bosco Technical Institute and I graduated from there. But I'll tell you something, the East Indian Charitable Trust was very good to me in my teaching. Don Bosco took very good care for me, and when I asked him for a job during the summer and winters, they gave me a job. But I want to talk to the MLAs with this question. How much pressure are you putting on industries in Chennai to hire minorities like Anglo-Indians? Because Anglo-Indians do very well in the industry after they graduate from a technical school. Can anybody answer that?
Yeah, about putting pressure on the industry. See, you can't really put pressure on the industry, but what we can do is we try to reach out to the industry through contacts. That's the only way, because there are many of these organizations who are very fair in their selection and they don't accept. But if we are able to groom our young people, that's what I've been working on. Grooming young people so they can face an interview, be able to enter a group discussion, take part in a group discussion, because today it's no longer just an interview where you will ask questions. But it's more than that. They look at your personality, there's a psychologist, and then again there's a person who even makes you enter a group discussion. So which means we have to groom our youth right from the time they enter college or even from school, such that they're able to face interviews and become, as we suggested, employable. So that is one way of going. Government jobs, it's possible provided they do their examinations, for which means they'll have to go through a preparatory course, which will involve money, so which can be funded or can be done.
It's just after I graduated, the Anglo-Indian Association was going to find me a job. Do you guys do that when the person graduates, try to help them find a job?
Well, finding a job, an effort can be made. But honestly, today in those days we were probably a handful. Today we've got thousands of young men who are graduates. So to be very honest with you, if each branch or if every organization, let it be the Women's Forum or let it be the South India Association or the All India Association, it is very difficult for them to look out for jobs. They can help out people, as I said, through contacts. It is possible through reaching out to people. Now, for example, a good point, an MLA. If an MLA is an accessible person, well known, he or she can make their contacts and reach out to the industry, or reach out to people, reach out to schools. And if you do something for a school, they in turn will do something for your community. Very simple. President Chief Barry O'Brien mentioned the same thing. When we were MLAs, we did that. We reached out to our schools, to our Anglo-Indian schools. So they in turn helped out our own Anglo-Indians in terms of employment, in terms of admission, etc. It's a two-way traffic. Okay. Have I answered that question?
I'm Anne Gonzalez, Treasurer for Vignesh N. We've talked so much about education, particularly higher education. Have any one of the association thought on counseling the students who want higher education? We at the forum give out scholarships about 135. 100 is for high school and lower higher education. And for higher education, 35. We've even educated civil engineers, MSc nurses. But at no point of time does any association call their name before they give the scholarship and say, look, don't take this course, there's no future. Or if you're going to buy mathematics, go to CA. That's a food for thought that I'm doing all the association. Having been at the board for the last 23 years and giving out the scholarship, I spent hours trying to tell the student, don't do an MBA. What are you going to do after MBA? You're mathematically inclined, go to CA. Or you're electrically inclined, go for solar energy. This is something that I find actually in most of the sessions where the students going to higher education. They really do not know what they want. Their parents have not much education or can't help them. The students just blindly go for BA history, BA English, BA whatever it is, BA. They don't know that they can go beyond. So I'm just bringing this over to food for thought.
I just want to add one thing, agree what you say. We are having counseling, in case you want to know that question. I'm answering your question. We are having counseling sessions. We've done quite a few at the branch level, inter-branch level. We've done even in Coimbatore, in Ooty. We've done it again here in Chennai. We are doing it, and now we're even looking at the national level. In the last 2 years, the association has been moving forward. So we need time. So we're working on that. But we have been doing it, I must tell you, for quite some time. I started first in the 1990s. It's except it may not be totally effective because we need to reach out to more people, and I fully agree with your point. Well taken. Thank you, Anna.
Nico?
I would like to add to that. From Uttar Pradesh, at the Lucknow Christian College, we have a career and counseling setup, which I take care of. And even though it is strictly supposed to be off the college, we coordinate higher education for all the Anglo-Indians from the state. So, whether from the association or if individuals approach me in their capacity, I assure you that at least in Uttar Pradesh, the Anglo-Indian education at the graduate and postgraduate levels is probably at its best. It's never been at this level before. Thank you.
Richard, with your permission, thank you. I think you make a very pertinent point. What Oscar has said is true. We are doing it through the All India Anglo Association, but it's at its infancy.
He's adding on to what he said.
It is at its infancy, and it is very sporadic, and it is not yet structured. Yeah, what you're saying is extremely important, and here I would appeal to those of you who are sending funds. Whoever is disbursing those funds needs to actually do what ma'am is saying. That is, because I'll give you an example. They want to do hotel management, which is extremely expensive, and many of our boys and girls who have taken good money, yours, mine, and ours, to do hotel management, don't follow through because they're not cut out for it. I think that's what you're saying. You need to counsel them before, help them, because they're just going in blindly. It's not true only of our community, it is true right across India. People are going into engineering or other things, other professions, because mommy and daddy said to do it, or because the neighbors are doing it. But you may be actually a writer, you may be an artist, you may be a good DJ, you may be somebody else. I think we need to counsel them and their parents well before they even reach the +2 level, like they do in Calcutta.
Answering this question, but bringing up an important point, the forum intends in the coming months to form committees in various localities to look into the matter of admission of our children in Anglo-Indian schools and the so-called minority schools, in the minority religious schools. This is so very important because for some reason or other, our minority institutions don't take our Anglo-Indians. If they do take Anglo-Indian children, of course not as Anglo-Indians, as Christians, if they do take the Catholics, they give us subjects which are not job-oriented, any subject. But they take a lot of pride in saying we are looking after the downtrodden and we are looking after everyone else except their own Catholics. The minority institutions are meant for us. So that is something that we should challenge, and that is what we are going to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, as part of our organization in Calcutta, it's not just at this career stage where you need to start counseling. There are parents who don't know what is happening in life. There are children who don't know where they're going or where they're coming from. If we do not have sensitization programs with young people before they reach this stage, you will never be able to convince them which course they need to take. They don't have any idea of it. They come from broken families where they don't know the next meal is coming from. How will they, with your sensitization at this level, understand which course they're going to take? There are plenty. It's not just the cream of society. Let's forget that we're only talking about the cream of society who can go into engineering colleges and make a choice of an MBA or an engineering degree. There are many more Anglo-Indians who do not have that choice because their parents do not have the money to put them into a college. How do you counsel that child? She's got 90% and does not have the means to go into college. What counseling of a career will you give her? Ladies and gentlemen, let's not make it a make-believe situation where we can counsel people and put them into engineering and MBAs. It's not possible. The parents don't have the means to make that up. Let's give them the counseling from the very beginning so that they know where they're going and what their parents can afford for them. That's more important than counseling them for their career and putting them into careers that they don't have any understanding about.
Thank you.
And one of the vice presidents of the Federation of Anglo-Indian Associations. We have a problem in Tamil Nadu regarding education. Last year in May, the government of Tamil Nadu introduced a GO and removed the inspector of Anglo-Indian schools, who was in charge of 47 schools, 38 plus 98 schools. So people were running as a center and Dr. Austin India also helped in the drafting and all this. They went to the collector. Collector was not a person, it's a collector. Then I took a group and met the Secretary of Principal Education here. He was a very nice man, IAS. I told, he asked, why are you bothered about it? What people will look up? I said, no. You have 65,000 schools under 65 DEOs. So each DEO has to, the DEO means District Education Officer. DEO is in charge of 1,000 schools in Tamil Nadu. Then I said, you brought the Anglo-Indian schools also under the DEOs. So where will they be looked So that is why they want the inspector post. It is right from your days they have the inspector. So finally, I managed to get it now. The joint director is now in charge of these schools. So we will get it in the shortly. What I would like is forum, to bring before this forum is, in Tamil Nadu, compared to other states, all other states have a reservation of seats for Anglo-Indians in professional courses. Dr. Christian Lars will agree with me. Andhra has, Kerala has, and Karnataka. All these states have these reservations for Anglo-Indians in professional courses. It was here in Tamil Nadu. In 2005, I think Dr. Austin will agree with me. It was taken away in 2005. And then the Santa River was there at period. I have some replies from the government with me. Why can't he, now since the MLA is not functioning in Tamil Nadu, why can't Dr. Austin, Dr. Veggie, all of us, ask for that reservation of seats in professional courses? So it will help the people now, as our friend from Kolkata said. Quality. It is unaffordable. For many, it is unaffordable to go to professional courses. If we get reservation of seats in professional courses, we can make it affordable for our people. This is my question of the Bearers and Austin.
The question about reservation, yes, I'll try to be brief. In fact, I'm rushing through because there's so many questions. So I started when my earlier term, I did get in the 90s, I got this reservation for Anglo-Indians in professional courses. But then what happened was subsequently, you have to be, the MLA has to be constantly vigilant. And over a period of time, the government just withdrew it, and there were some even went to court, and there were issues. I subsequently tried to bring it up again. Got a long story short, the matter is still sub judice. In fact, and of course, once something is taken away, it's very hard to get it back. I've made representation. The only hope now is when the government changes, then we'll have to start afresh and go through the whole process collectively and see if it works. It is important that we have, but then there are two facets of this. One question is, do we need reservations? Or aren't we good enough to find ourselves on our own? Do we not have brilliant children who will find? The other side of the spectrum is, yes, there are some people who need that little push, that little reservation. So we'll have to work on that. I don't want to elaborate much on this because the time constraint.
You know that we have 185 seats reserved in professional courses. Of course, there are government allotted seats. And I think all the GOs have been handed over to all the leaders of various organizations. Those GOs were supposed to be used to take a precedence with their various other governments and see that similar opportunities are there for the young ones in different states. What has happened to those GOs, I'd really like to know. Because in Andhra Pradesh, as MLA for 3 terms, I found there was a lot of opposition from various associations, stalling the young people from taking these opportunities. I was very, very saddened. That's the worst low point in my term as MLA. And I feel very, very sorry that even the MLAs today, I know Philip Docker has taken 2 kind of seats, that's medical and dental, but and Elvis, he's just renominated Elvis Stevenson. So I told him, I said, those seats are there for the taking. So please use your second term to see that 185 young people become professional. We need professionalism. It's not that we don't need reservation. We need professionalism in our community. Thank you.